Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.
Good evening all, it's Monday night and that means it's time for the Scottish Football Social Club. We're live on X and YouTube and just on Premier Sports, the regular TV channel as well, if you fancy watching in that way. And if you're a regular on a Monday, you'll know that our regulars are Michael Stewart and Alan Hutton, who are here again, clearly, because they're regulars. But I'm told by the Premier Sports producers, actually there's still a period of probation. We're a forward-thinking company, Alan. So I think we should start doing some live reviews. And on YouTube, you can do anything you want live. So let's just start right away, Al, with a review, your review of Michael Stewart's contribution of the show so far. A mark out of 10, perhaps?
Well, I'll probably go about 6. Because, look, his opinions are up there. And we get on really well. But the internet situation is pulled him right back down. So that's where he drops a little points.
I'm with you, mate. I've got him down for a 4, purely based on Wi-Fi. Mikey, how would you rate Al and his performance on the new Scottish Football Social Club so far?
Well, I'd rank the 2 years around about a 0 for comments like that.
I thought you might go that way. Anyway, enough said. No more live reviews, okay? The producers can handle the live reviews. We do have an extra guest this week. Should we bring him in now? Kevin Thomson is very kindly joining us. Kevin is sitting in a training ground somewhere. I believe you've come away from training, from watching your boys. Is that right, to join in?
Inning for you, Darrell. As you know, obviously the boys are down at the Hibs training centre training just now. So just to see Mikey, Alan, yourself is always a pleasure.
Lovely to see you, and I love that commitment as well. Listen, we won't keep you too long, so we'll get right into it. I think there's only one place to start, Michael, and that is Hearts. We've discussed Stephen Naismith and his position the last few weeks on this show, and it's all come to a head now. Another defeat. The decision was made to dismiss Stephen from his job. Was that the right decision in the end, Michael, given what you saw on the pitch?
Well, I mean, look, I think when you see a club the size of Hearts that's going 8 games defeated in a row, they've not won this season, and you take it back into the results at the back end of last season, I don't think any manager's going to survive that. You know, Robbie Neilson previously lost 5 games in a row, and he got bulleted. And when you look at the run of the games that was, it was home and away to Celtic, away to Aberdeen, away to Kilmarnock, and then home to St Mirren. So the run of results that Hearts have been on just now, I'm not overly surprised. But what it does do, I think it needs to call into question the folk that are making these decisions. 6 weeks ago, Stephen Naismith had, and all of his coaching staff were given an extension to the contract. 6 weeks later, they've all been shown the door. There's not been a great managerial record in terms of appointments at Hearts since Anne Budge has come in. They've done so much good work away for the park. In terms of managerial appointments, apart from Robbie Neilson, you look at what's happened there. There's been Ian Cathro, which was an unmitigated disaster. Craig Levein, which was an absolute disaster. Daniel Stendel, which, again, left field, but it was a horrific appointment. And now, obviously, Stephen Naismith has been shown the door in, less than 18 months in the job. So it does really call into question who's making the decisions in terms of appointing managers and what is going to happen this time around.
Yeah, we just saw the goals go through the game against St Mirren. Well done to the Saints, by the way. Another good 3 points on the board for them, Alan, which they needed. But from Hearts' point of view, the goals they've conceded again, another set piece and then one long ball.
I know. I mean, that's the thing that we've kind of come to see over these kind of games, this winless run, that they're very easy to play through and play against. I thought, years gone by, Hearts were always difficult. They'd always make it hard for you. But when you see the goals that they're conceding, and I just feel like we've spoken about it a lot, like Nazy was as if he was searching for something, formation, whether it be 4 at the back, 3 at the back, personnel. I mean, I thought they recruited well, but it's trying to get all these pieces put together and it's just not quite worked out. But again, you look at the goals and they're really soft, and that's where it's letting them down at this moment in time.
Kevin, I'm sure you saw the first league game of the season. Hearts played Rangers, and there was a lot of enthusiasm after that game, after the point they took, the way they played on the day. And yet here we are a few weeks on, and it's all unravelled. For you, was this any surprise at all?
I don't think off the back of the results, Darrell, you could say it was a surprise, but obviously first and foremost disappointed for Nazy, because top lad, obviously ex-teammate, you want to see him do well, and I'm pretty sure even the people that weren't Naze's biggest fans never envisioned the start of the season that we're going to have off the back of such a successful season last season. As kind of echo what Hutch just said, I thought the recruitment was good, apart from, in hindsight, probably quite a few of the same types. Hutch speaks about being hard to play against, Yandanda, Blair Spittles, really technical football players, but maybe not so good without the ball. So, but the big thing for me was obviously keeping hold of Lauren Shanklin, and they've managed to do that, to secure his services, to have him in the squad moving forward. And to think that there are 8 games on the bounce defeated is almost unquestionable. But as I mentioned, disappointed for Naze, but the harsh reality is it's a results-driven business.
I think Michael, I was just going to say, Michael, I think some of the fans had turned, and given the fact that so many of the Hearts fans have put their own hands in their own pockets to help finance the club in recent years, when some of them turn, it does mean the end is near. And I think that was the case at the end for Stephen Naismith.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, obviously, the foundation of Hearts are the owners of the club, but Hearts are no different from any other club. When the fan base turn, then it's very, very difficult for the manager to survive, because it becomes self-preservation for the board. They're not wanting the criticism to be labelled at them for too long, and they want to be seen to be doing something. But, Hearts behind the scenes and the football side of things, there has been far too much turnover in, the last decade or so. And it looked as if there was a wee bit of stability the last few years, even when Robbie was there and when Stephen Naismith came in. He was in the building already. But what is the recruitment process at the club? Because the boys are, they're right in terms of the guys. Some of the guys they've brought in are good, but there are glaring holes in that side. So who is it that's involved in it? Who is it that's making the final decision? Who is scouting these people in the first place? Because I've said this from the first day of this season, even after the Rangers draw, the side is imbalanced. They don't have any pace in the wide areas. They don't have any penetration in the team. They're lacking a presence, a physical presence in the middle of the field. And ultimately, there is no backup to Lawrence Shanklin either. If Lawrence Shanklin gets injured, well, he's not scored this season, and it's not a great surprise because there's very little service. But if he was to get injured, who are they going to replace him with? So, Tom was right. There's a lot of players that have come in that are very similar. They've not even been able to get put into the side together yet. So there's the basis of a very good squad there, but it does need a little bit of adjustment. So for any manager that's looking at it, they will be thinking this is a fantastic position to get, because with a little bit of work, they could do very well. Very similar to what's happened at Aberdeen with regards to...
How does it work there? How was it working there? Was he in full control of who he wanted to bring in? Or did they have a support staff round about him that was actually helping him? Do you know?
Well, by all accounts, obviously, Joe Savage was the director of football there before, or the sporting director, call it what you want. But it was a bit of a mystery. And a lot of the chat was that there was a bit of, not indecision and not, a problem between the different voices that were in there. But it wasn't ultimately quite clear who was making the final call or who was bringing the players forward, and were they on the same page? I don't know is the honest answer. But that's something that obviously needs to be addressed, not just in terms of who's the new manager, but what is the actual structure?
Mikey, just to move this forward now, there's been a lot of talk about using Tony Bloom and his business analytics company with recruitment in mind moving forward. And the job he's done with Brighton as the owner there and other clubs that he's invested in. And who knows what that might mean for the future. Maybe Tony Bloom will invest in Hearts as well. But in the meantime, they've got an ex-Jambo down there in Davy Weir. And if there's any chance of a link-up, Brighton will have a bunch of managerial names up there, Steve, as well. Young managers like the one they've got, Hurtzler, who are probably developing in other leagues. So would your first call, if you're on the Hearts board, be to Davy Weir to find out, can he help and what can they do moving forward here?
Well, you would think that it's a sensible decision to do that, to pick the phone up to somebody like Davy Weir, who has, a connection with the club, who's obviously in a position of authority at Brighton, and there's all the chat about Tony Bloom as well. So regardless of whether Tony Bloom takes anything further forward, Davy Weir is clearly in a position where you would want to tap into his knowledge to say, look, can you help us out? What are your thoughts? But I don't know. This is the thing with the board. A lot of good business acumen and a lot of good business decisions that are made. But when it comes to the football in front, too often they've backed the wrong horse. This is a massive call for them, and they've got to get it right.
Just to be clear, Kev, you're not coming on the show tonight just because you want the job, is that right?
I'd love to see that.
So there's more chance of Mikey getting the job than me, Darrell.
Yeah, as an ex-hippie. But in all seriousness, Kev, I mean, there are a few names being bandied around. Is there someone that you think could go in there and have an immediate impact? Because I see a lot of names in the newspapers like Derek McInnes and others, as you've said, Michael, maybe you have to think outside the box a little bit. What do you think, Kevin, on the potential candidates that Hearts could target?
I think they're going to have to be big and brave and bold, really, Darrell. I don't think they'll get away with an unknown name as such, even though that unknown name might prove really fruitful. As you mentioned, the Brighton ties, people that have maybe not heard of some of these, hidden gems as such, maybe applying their trade somewhere else in Europe or whatever. But I certainly think for the traditional kind of structure and DNA, the Jambos, I think they will go traditional and look at Derek McInnes and Stephen Robinsons and people that are probably under their noses. Whether that'll work out, I honestly don't know. If we all had hindsight, I suppose it would be wonderful. What I would say is obviously really good managers, and what a brilliant club to get an opportunity. And don't quote me on it, Darrell, but I think somebody told me they've got 31 first-team players signed, which is incredible. So they're obviously well backed to playing budget. So it's certainly, as Mikey says, a wee bit tone here and throw, and they could potentially make something really special, I think.
And Alan, there's European ties around the corner as well, so there's still so many possibilities this season if they can get this right. In what direction do you think they might go, Alan, and who would you like to see given that job, given a chance?
Yeah, I mean, Kev touches on it there. I mean, it's a difficult one, who they're going to look at. You talk about the likes of Derek McInnes, who's done really well, whether it be Aberdeen or Kilmarnock, getting them to the European positions. So, I mean, they might go down that route, whether he would want to leave somewhere like he is now and building something to go to Hearts. Well, I think it's a massive job. They have got a good squad. Like Michael said, well, a little bit of tweaking here and there, it could be really good, but it's going to be an interesting one. I think a lot of people would be up for that job if you want.
For me, I think Hearts need stability right now. And it's not to say that I wouldn't be looking abroad, because I think, you got to throw the cast the net far and wide. And perhaps, the likes of Knudsen at Bodo Glimt, if you're thinking something like Jimmy Tillin, or even Nidstrom, who's at Malmo. These are guys that are, doing very well, but they would cost. You would have to spend a bit of money, and they might not be, wanting to come. Then, for me, an absolute stick-on that has to be spoken to is Derek McInnes. The guy is the most successful outside of Rangers and Celtic in Scotland, the most experienced as well. And if Tony Bloom is going to be coming to Hearts with a little bit of extra investment and a network that can be tapped into, I think it's something that Derek McInnes would look at personally, because with the greatest respect to Kilmarnock, and I think Billy Bowie's done a wonderful job there. How much further is Derek McInnes going to be able to take Kilmarnock? And I think with Hearts and the potential to grow and push them on, I think it's something that he may well look at, possibly, be interested.
Yeah, they were just having some messages being sent in, by the way, I can see. And the shock to me is there's a positive one about Michael, which is it's incredible, actually. But it's on screen anyway, just for the heck of it.
Is that your pal? Is that his friend? I've seen him looking down. I think he was texting his mate going, go and fire a wee comment in for me.
Mate, that is Michael. That's his
I'm not coming back.
That's my burner phone.
He was doing that live there. All right, here's a question for you. Here's a question for you, Kev. Who finishes higher this season, Hearts or Hibs?
If you'd asked me in the summer, I would have said Hearts, Darrell, but the start that they've made, albeit the Hibs have not made too good a start either. Obviously, I don't know if Dave's maybe still in the building, so I can't say that too loud.
You better turn the volume down.
I was wondering why you were sitting in a toilet there, or a shower.
Cannot say the Jambos. Hopefully, the Hibs, Darrell.
I don't know, Kev didn't see last week, but there's a chance he's in the Richard Donald stand, Michael, at the moment. He's locked in that same lavy. Anyway, Kev, all right, don't say anything else on Hibs. Let's move on to one of your other former clubs then, Kev. Rangers at the weekend, actually playing Dundee, who you played for as well. Rangers, comprehensive victory back at Ibrox where they needed to be. It has not been a great start to the season, as you know. Give me your overall thoughts, first of all, on what you think Philip Clement has done with this team this season, Kevin, please.
I was there on Saturday, Darrell. I done the telly for obviously Rangers TV. Probably professional performance was the best way to describe it, albeit Dundee did have big chances, limited ones, but big ones. Dessers does what he says in the tin, obviously gets a lot of stick, but I was quite impressed with Bajrami. I thought he linked up really well with Jefty in the left-back area, albeit a right-sided player and always wanting to cut in his right, with having Jefty that kind of natural balance outside him. So I think it's difficult, Darrell, because and Hearts will be the same when you get asked these questions about your former team and knowing that second is obviously unacceptable. I think the biggest thing for me is to get away from the gaps, the cliches of the building and all these processes, because Rangers fans want to see the team winning and they want to see a team that's passionate. They want to see clarity for the board. They want to see clarity for the manager. They want, as you mentioned, obviously off air, they want clarity in all these positions that are always talking points, and I think that would be the biggest thing. I felt a real buzz off the fans being back at Ibrox, obviously being a Hampden for the start of the season, but the harsh reality is you always feel that, I don't know if Hearts or Michael have been different, when I've been back at Ibrox, you always feel as though they're one defeat away from a catastrophe, which is not a good feeling to have.
Yeah. Alan, I mean, we'll come back to the board, by the way, in a second, because John Gilligan has been speaking today, so we have to reflect on that. But just on the performance and Dessers getting his 2 goals, just at a time, I think, a few were questioning, should he start the biggest games? Malmo's around the corner. Hamza Igaman has played well in spells, and then he gets 2 more goals. So where do you stand on that now, the pecking order, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's the go-to guy at this moment in time. The question mark will always be there when we talk about his goals. Yes, his numbers are good, but he could probably have a barrel load more if you think of the opportunities that he sometimes passes up. Igaman, I thought, in these cameo roles that we've seen him, looked really impressive, especially against Dundee United, just the way he played with such a freedom, taking the ball in his chest, driving. I thought he looked really good, but I think Dessers is still the man at this moment in time. As long as he's scoring, I think then he'll have his part to play, but they had to go to Ibrox there at the weekend and win. I think first game back at Ibrox, that's 2 clean sheets in a row. Yes, I'm not the physical, the final article yet, but I think you could see link-ups starting to come to fruition, like Bajrami and Jefty, as Kevin said, and Dessers got in the act as well. So I think overall it was a good performance. There is still a lot to come, I think, as these players do settle in. But yeah, I think second isn't good enough, and that's always going to be what's hanging over them at this moment in time.
Michael, did you see positive signs from players like Bajrami who've been introduced into the team?
Yeah, come on, Michael.
I mean, look, the positive is it's a good result. But I think Tomo makes a good point there that there is an air of it never feels like it's far away from serious pressure and a bit of a catastrophe that could unfold. Yes, look, it's a good result, and that's the one thing that they can start to try and build. It's just, regardless of performances, they need to actually just get some, results to buy a bit of time and buy a bit of confidence and belief to try and build from there. Did I see anything? I'll be honest. I think Rangers still look a million miles away. I've got to be honest. Bajrami looks like a nice technical player, but you're looking. He's a big signing for Rangers this season, and you're looking for somebody that's going to have a big impact. Do I think he's going to have that? No, really. To the level that they need if they're really going to make a fist of things. And that's not to say he's a bad player, but Rangers, as Tom was already spoken about there, the fans are expecting, wins. They're expecting a challenge. But unfortunately, I just don't think the reality with where they are wanting, and there's a level of expectation, is there's a massive gulf. I just don't see them being able to get there.
Well, there is a gulf. There is a golf, there's no getting away from that. I think Celtic are miles in front at this moment in time. I can quite easily say that, if I'm honest. But I think by Rami, I think they put a lot of money into him, £3.5 million. The expectation's going to be there, but I think that is what his first start. I think there was signs there that he showed that he can go on and do something. Obviously, it has to be consistent, and we're going to have to wait and see. But in terms of golfs, we know it's there. I mean, and that's where you talk about the pressure falls on Rangers, because they are maybe one defeat away from all the headlines because the golf is so big.
I mean, I think we've said this before, Alan, that the manager's been given a new deal. You know things can change, but at the moment, I'm not sure they could afford to necessarily get rid of Philip Clement and bring someone else in, and they do need some stability as well. So not sure it could change. Yeah, I'm not sure
stability.
It could change.
They need it.
Yeah. And we did reflect that last week, didn't we, Alan? Just moving back to the board then, Alan, with you, please. John Gilligan has spoken today. He's the interim chair. Dave King has been in the press this week as well, suggesting they need an EGM, suggesting he could come back in maybe also as a chair on a short-term basis, maybe a couple of years, and bring some investment in. I think the message from John Gilligan today was quite clear. If he wants to have his say, speak to the board directly, don't do it in public. Do you agree with John Gilligan on that, Alan? Because there's still a few fans out there who probably like what Dave King did in the past and respect his opinion.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, you can respect everything that he's done for the club the last time he was there, of course, but why would you not say it privately? Why does it have to be out there in the public domain for everybody to then get their tuppence in on? I just don't believe that's the right way. And I think John Gilligan, what he came out and said was right. If he's got something to say as a proper board member, go in and speak to them. Go and hash it out, whatever you want to say. Do it behind closed doors. Rangers need stability. They need leadership within that boardroom. John Gilligan must be the guy for this moment in time. He's got a big job to do in terms of picking a new chairperson, a CEO. Since James Bisgrove left, there's not been an appointment there yet, which hasn't helped, I don't think. So let him get on with the job and just keep it in the background. Rangers need a team to go out and play well on the pitch. They can't concern themselves with what's happening at board level at this moment in time. So keep that behind closed doors and let them get on with it.
Unfortunately, though, Dave King is like Donald Trump. He's not bossing anyone.
I know, I get that. I understand that. But you know, there's a way to do it, Michael. Like, that's not real. He's not helping. He's not helping the fact.
I don't disagree, Hutz. But it's not going to happen.
I don't know if it was a positive, that, Michael, or not. We know your political views are out there at times. I've got no idea.
Don't start them with that.
Don't worry.
Let's just not go there.
Just a matter of fact, that's all.
It's not that type of show. Kevin, just one final one on Rangers for now, because we could talk about them all day. And there's a huge game just around the corner against Malmo as well. A very hard Europa League group they've been dealt. So they have to start in the right fashion. But I wanted to ask you about the captain, James Tavernier, because a lot has been said about him. We've discussed him on this show as well. Some of the fans were very unhappy with his performance, his leadership after the Celtic game. And some of those fans were vocal about that. There was talk about him leaving the club during the summer. On James Tavernier, do you think he's been treated unfairly, or do you feel that he needs to give a lot more as well?
I have to say that his performances, Darrell, have been under standard for him, to be honest. I don't think he's covered himself with loads of glory with individual performances, but I also think he carries the club on his shoulders and his numbers and his record. And the unfortunate thing is, as Hutz will probably tell you, that Rangers fans don't care what happened last year or last week, or how many goals you scored over the course of 8 or 9 seasons. They might remember you when you leave, and you might actually be more thought of when you leave. But Rangers fans want results now. They want to see a captain that is, I think, Tav, deep down, I say this with the greatest respect, I'm not so sure he wants to be the captain of Rangers. I think he would rather go under the radar a wee bit. I think the responsibility that comes with it, I think he'll love it. It's a massive profiling. It's a brilliant, prestigious honour to get, but I certainly think it brings us a real unwanted attention on his shoulders, and I think he would rather, or have the personality, should I say, to go a wee bit more unnoticed. I actually don't think it would be a bad thing for him, but listen, they're too far down the line now. He's a captain of the club. He has to remain the captain of the club, or it would cause more animosity, it would cause more fraction. So they need to ride with it, really. But I have to say, personally, I think his performances have been under standard for the quality that he's got. But I certainly think he's a top player, and he's certainly, I think, the real good Rangers fans still appreciate James Tavernier.
And I think what you've just said actually is interesting, because there's been a lot of talk of a lack of leadership, and there you've got a leader who you're perhaps suggesting might not want to have that role. He's certainly embraced the role, but maybe it's not a natural role, I should say, for James Tavernier, and that's where they are at the moment. We've got to keep moving because we're 25 minutes almost into the show. Michael, let's get on to Celtic. You were watching that cup tie against Falkirk in the Premier Sports Cup at the weekend. What a cup tie it was in the end. Just before we get to Celtic, I mean, Falkirk outstanding again in parts of this game.
Absolutely. I said it yesterday, their performance really does put a few top flight clubs to shame, because they went at Celtic, they didn't sit back, they had real attack and threat, and for, I think, 70 minutes before Celtic, equalised, you got a real sense that Celtic had to up the gears to a level that they haven't had to this season. They were pushed, and, I'm pretty positive that Brendan Rodgers didn't envisage having to make 4 subs around about the hour mark to have to go and chase the game. And that just shows you how well Falkirk performed. And it's no huge surprise that, in the last 15 minutes or so, they ended up blowing a gasket, because they put everything into that game and they deserve a lot of credit. Another thing that highlights is Falkirk is a squad that has one non-Scot. The rest of them are all young lads who haven't made the grade at, the first club or whatever. And John McGlynn has a clear identity of what he's wanting. And I know that John McGlynn previously had managed Hearts. It was when they were in administration. But what he has done at Falkirk, I think, deserves to put him in the mix in regards to the discussion about could he go back to Hearts. Because he's a guy who has a clear vision of what he's wanting to do. And he's been able to put together what are classed as players that couldn't make the grade. And he's pushed Celtic there further than anyone else has.
Mikey, would the fans be happy with that?
He deserves the conversation.
No.
They probably wouldn't. But that comes back to people making bold calls and bold decisions because they actually believe in something. They've got a bit of substance there. I'm not saying John McGlynn should get the job, but I'm saying he should definitely be in there being spoken about. Because that job that he's doing at Falkirk is an admirable one.
He deserves to be in the conversation. And Michael, just back to you, because you're obviously at the game and watching the game closely. We've also said a lot about how strong Celtic's squad is this season on paper, with all the players that have been available off the bench. Some of those players were given the opportunity in the game. Obviously, for Trusty, he needs a bit of time, you'd expect, just arrived at the club. Vaya as well. Palma got a start. Any of those players stand out for you, or did any of them disappoint enough to probably not be considered now in some of the big games to come?
Well, I think obviously you hit the nail on the head with Trusty and Vaya. They've literally just walked in the door, so they need more time. They need other opportunities, and perhaps when you step into a team that hasn't 8 changes in it, that helps as well. But for Luis Palma, I've got to be honest, I'm struggling to see how he's going to be able to make his way back, because the competition is tough, and I don't see how he's going to be able to make his way back at Celtic. I think I would not be surprised come January if he was, being, moved on elsewhere, because I don't see him having the impact that you would have hoped for and expected with. He was a big summer transfer last year. So no, I wouldn't be surprised if Palma is moved on.
Kevin, what do you think on Celtic so far this season? Obviously, you would have watched their Champions League game as well. Are you impressed by what Brendan Rodgers is doing with the squad?
Yeah, I certainly think last year I thought they huffed and puffed a wee bit, Darrell. I thought there was that wee bit of animosity when Rangers managed to get their noses in front, albeit Rangers had the horror week and Celtic went on and won quite comfortably in the end. But I think the scary thing for especially for Rangers, but everybody really involved in the top flight, is I think they're only going to get better. I think they've counteracted any sort of huffy and puffiness last year, and they went and recruited really well. I actually thought when Matt O'Reilly went, I thought he was such an important player. I know Callum Gregor's so important in the engine room, but he's the talisman. He makes them tick. But I certainly thought Matt O'Reilly was the one that just had the energy, the power. He was almost like playing with 2 players in the middle of the pitch at times, and I thought, here you go. If he goes and they don't replace him, but then they go and open the checkbook and sign real quality. So I think it's a scary thought if they do hit top gear, which I think looks like it's on the horizon, Darrell, for everybody else.
Yeah, and Michael, also, I'll come back to you in a moment here, but you've talked about Palmer not performing. Nicholas Kuhn, you mentioned a few times this season. You questioned maybe at the very top level. Is he ready for the big Champions League games? Alan, what do you think?
Questioned that.
He looks ready, doesn't he? He looks ready.
No, but I thought, even when we were speaking about it, I know Michael was a little bit of question mark over him.
Did he get in the Rangers side,
Why are you asking me that question? I'm not going to answer that. No, look, see, when he came on, like, it was like a breath of fresh air, wasn't he? He wants to go forward, he wants to get involved, setting up goals, he's scoring goals. I thought he looked a real threat. Of course, look, Falkirk done ever so well, but they were tiring towards the end. It's a big pitch, they threw everything at it, and you knew they were going to tire. I always had a feeling that Celtic would come back and win, and he was a huge part of that. So, what are you thinking, Michael, about him?
I think you would get in the Rangers side. Yeah.
I know that's not the question I was asking.
Are you, Michael, in all seriousness, are you waiting to kind of... He has been brilliant this season, by the way, one of the outstanding performers. But are you kind of waiting to judge him, Michael, on the Dortmund and Atalanta nights?
Well, he doesn't think he's been outstanding, I don't think.
No, I don't. I think he's definitely improved. There's no doubt. And the one thing I just want to see more from him is what he did against Slovan Bratislava for Kyogo's goal. As a wide man, hit the byline more often. He's playing obviously on the opposite side, so he's going to cut in a lot, but he has to mix it up a bit more. And yesterday, for me, look at what happened. I know the first one that he sets up is a short corner, but he's drifting about and getting involved in the game. That for me was, and I know it's against Falkirk, but we've already spoken about how they pushed them, Celtic. That was, the biggest impact he's had. He was involved in everything. His goal was fantastic. His first one, he's run across the face of the defender. He's finished for the second. So he is definitely grown on me. And I think that the next challenge is obviously Europe. But no, he's had a good season, yeah. But in terms of outstanding, up until yesterday, I would have said, yeah, he's improving. Yesterday was outstanding.
Have you ever heard Michael going backwards like that, Kevin, before?
He's grown on Michael Stewart. The boy must have a chance.
Absolutely true. Listen, Kevin, I know you've got to go in a couple of minutes, so let's just rattle through a couple more games while we've got you. Aberdeen 4, Spartans 0. Of course, they were expected to win this one, Kevin. But my word, the Dons are rolling under Jimmy Tillene, aren't they?
Oh, it's incredible, really, Darrell. It's almost. I don't think he could even have mapped it out as well as it's obviously panned out for him. It's been an unbelievable takeover. I think Peter Leven has to take a lot of credit for the groundwork that he done, obviously off the back of Barry Robson, but I think he's been a breath of fresh air since he's come in. I watched him way back even against Queen of South, listening to Michael on co-coms. I'm sure he was on that night, and they've just got better and better and better. The old Edinburgh team, I've been reminded a few times, Darrell, they'll still be in the cup obviously until they just got knocked out. Obviously the Jambos out, the Hibs out, so I have to say Dougie Samuel, the Spartans manager, community club, which everybody knows is close to my heart, not so much Spartans but a community club as such. They've done a brilliant job there, and it just shows you that when you're in the lower leagues, if you've got the right structure and the right ambition, then it's anything can happen. But from an Aberdeen perspective, they've made a brilliant start.
Yeah, Alan and we watched that Dons game as well that Michael was commentating on, but we had it on mute, which was the only way to watch it. But like Alan, they keep on rolling on, don't they? And when you have players like Leighton Clarkson coming in and scoring, he's just back from injury. Duke might get a go at some point as well, still at the club. They have a lot of options.
Yeah, absolutely. Clarkson coming in, I thought he was outstanding, really good performance. And they've just got a style of playing. I just love how they play, like the way they set up. They try and kind of get into the ball in the midfield and they jump all over it, and then they attack and they transition really fast and they score goals. And the manager, as Kevin said, he's like a breath of fresh air. I mean, he's really good to talk to listen to. He's got good ideas and stuff. And what's that, 11? Is that 11 now?
Yeah,
I mean, it just keeps on rolling. Look, there's going to be some tough tests for him coming up where he'll really be tested, and then we'll kind of be able to really judge where they're at. But at this moment in time, recruitment's been good and they're in a real good place. Big
test like the Premier Sports Cup semi-final against Celtic, Michael.
Exactly that one.
Absolutely. I mean, and this coming next 6 weeks is a big one for Aberdeen. Prior to the semi-final, they've got Rangers at Pittodrie in the league as well.
That'll be interesting.
Midweek, yeah. But this is a big spell coming up for them because they have been fantastic. The fixture list has been kind to them as well, so they've been able to build momentum, and I'm really looking forward to them because I do genuinely believe as the tests get tougher that Aberdeen have got the bit between their teeth and they've got a really nice balanced team. I think they'll be able to rise to the challenge and put in some really good results against what we would regard as some of the tougher teams in the league.
So where do you think they'll finish then this year, Michael?
I think they'll finish third, but I'm very much open to being persuaded otherwise on that in terms of whether they might go further up, Alan.
Remember, the best pundits, they always admit when they're wrong. Sometimes you've just got to hold your hands up. So we'll see how that goes at the end of the season. Look, Kevin, I know I'm going to let you go. Just one final thing I want to ask you about. The other semi-final is Motherwell against Rangers. Motherwell knocked out Dundee United on Friday night. This game was decided by young Lennon Miller. What you'll see is penalty. He was so cool stepping up late in the game to put his team through to the semi-final at Hampden. Is he your type of player, Kevin?
I love him a bit, Darrell. I don't know him personally. Obviously, I know Lee. I know his dad really well. Played with him obviously for a brief spell down at Middlesbrough. Played against him through different obviously clubs, etc. I just think he's got such maturity, Darrell. I think that's the biggest thing. Normally, when you think of young players, listen, the coolest head in the park. I'm pretty sure his manager had a wee nervous belly, but how coolly he steps up. But the biggest compliment I can give him, Darrell, is he don't play like a stereotypical young lad that's quite raw, quite full of energy, normally quite physical. He's obviously a big lad. He's going to be a big lad like his dad. But the maturity and the game management that he's got and the head that he's got on his shoulders is brilliant, and it can only be good for the national team in the future. And it's obviously very good for Motherwell because I'm pretty sure when his services get sought after, which I'm sure they're at the moment, they're going to get well reimbursed for his quality.
Yeah, well said. Well done to the Steelmen as well, who are through to the Premier Sports Cup semi-final. We've got a bit more talking to do, but Kevin, I know you want to go and watch your boys. Thank you very much. You promised me 20 minutes. We've had you for 37. Apologies for that, but thank you very much, Kev. We'll see you soon. All the best. We'll let him go. He's got a lot in his hands at the moment, and
let him get out that toilet.
Exactly.
He's out the Richard Darrell
stand officially. He's back out in the training pitch. Look, final thing to talk about tonight before we sign off. The other game, which was in the league at the weekend, Ross County, St Johnstone, 6 goals, 2 good ones from Nicky Clark in here. Ronan Hale, who you've mentioned before, Michael, scoring again as well. And this was all in the backdrop after St Johnstone sacked Craig Levine. Do you think that was the right decision, Michael?
Did they? Oh,
I thought you might have missed that one.
I was surprised. I was surprised by that. I think.
Were you actually surprised? New ownership. Were you surprised?
I think there's only one person that was surprised by that, and that was Craig Levine, apparently. Because I don't think you could see or find a St Johnstone supporter that was surprised by it. I mean, no, not surprised in the slightest. I'm actually surprised that he was still there at the start of the season. New ownership. I thought there would have been a change made earlier. I mean, first of all, you've got to say what a great comeback from Ross County. Brilliant. 2 goals. I mean, what it was 3-1 down with 6 minutes to go. It's quite incredible for them to come back. But that, to me, typifies Ross County. They really are a side that have got grit and determination stamped all over them. Don Cowie is putting together a side strong defensively. Akil Wright, we were up doing the Aberdeen game. He was an absolute standout player, and he's looking like a good find. St Johnstone, where are they going to turn? What are they going to do? It's a big call. Obviously, want to be making sure that the owner is first of all healthy. There's a big concern with the treatment that he's getting for cancer as well.
We wish him all the best, of course. That's the most important thing.
So there's a big call to be made for St Johnstone and the board that are here in Scotland. Because it's going to be a tough one. I think they will be down near the bottom of the table scrapping. So they need to make sure that they make a change and make it quick enough that they can get through to January and allow the manager to bring in some players that he wants to bring in. I think defensively, incredibly, attacking-wise for a Craig Levine side, which just is like, we're living in a parallel universe here. They actually look like they've got some attacking threats, whereas defensively they're looking pretty fragile this season.
Yeah, if they stop getting sent off.
Exactly, Al. Because if Nicky Clark keeps on scoring goals, the other two coming back as well from suspension, then they're going to have a lot of good options. The other thing I noticed, Andy Kirk, who's obviously interim in charge at the moment, his son Mackenzie started in the game. I mean, I don't know. As a dad,
I'd have been saying to my dad as well, I'd be like, come on, Dad, get me in.
Exactly.
Come on, give me an opportunity.
I mean, as a parent, though, honestly, can you imagine watching your own son in that position? I mean, unbelievable. We should have asked Kevin about that, really, but because maybe they've got an opportunity. You never know. But I mean, what a great story for the boy.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, you're just waiting for that opportunity and that chance to go and shine, and it just happens that your dad's in charge of the team, and it's like, come on, then get me involved. But look, he's obviously worked really hard to get there and deserves the opportunity. I know we're just joking about, but no, it's lovely to see.
Yeah, and he played well, Michael, and that's the most important thing. He played well in the match. Anyway, there's another live game next weekend, Premier Sports, St Johnstone Celtic. Is that right, Michael? Are you going to be there?
Indeed, yep, it is.
I'll be there with my crash helmet on.
Are you there, Alan? Are you there?
Yeah. I'm like, oh.
You'll be back in the corner, Michael. You'll have to protect him again.
Aye, help me, Mikey, help me.
Yes.
I know, you just pushed me in front of you.
Listen, the biggest positive about the show this week is that, Michael, the Wi-Fi's okay. I mean, what's happened?
Oh, brilliant.
You're sorted.
Hardwired, Darrell, hardwired.
Was Bruni in touch?
Well, by the way, no, he hasn't been in touch. So, can't give a shout out because he's not been back in touch. Bruni,
have you just got a long wire now? Just for the router all the way into your computer?
Yeah, Bruni's broadband is not kicked in yet.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Apparently he's got a wee stake in a broadband company. Who knew? He didn't tell us last week anyway, but he's offered to sort Michael's out. Maybe he can sort it all out for us. We'll get him back on very soon. Like, we're well out of time. We're almost 42 minutes in, and I promised we wouldn't go over 40 this week, but we've done it again. Enjoy the game next weekend, gentlemen, and we're back next Monday night. We shall see you then. Bye for now.
The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.